I've been trying to do this for a while, my top 10 favorite songs of all time. Now, everybody has their favorite songs for a reason. Each one of these songs reminds me of something, and that's why I like them. It's hard to put these in order. If you've seen my movie video, my top favorite movies of all time, I started as a top 10 list and I got to like 20 and I couldn't order them. I could order like the first couple. It's tougher than you think it is until you go and do it. But I think this is pretty close. W.A.S.P Golgotha. This is a big, epic song. It is just awesome. I did a drum cover to this song. I love this song so much. I wouldn't think it'd be down at number 10, but it's up there. But it's really hard. Like I said, it's hard to number the songs. The theme from Somewhere in Time. Somewhere in Time is a movie with Christopher Reeve and Jane Seymour. And the reason why I like this song, it's not that bad of a movie. It's kind of interesting. I don't know, it's a little trippy. It's interesting. But this was our wedding theme song. Foreigner, Jukebox Hero. Now, I usually don't like old songs. I think this is like 1980, so it's not 70s. I don't listen to any music before 1980, really. But this kind of reminds me of the kids, especially Matt, because this is the story of a guy who doesn't have any money and he doesn't have enough money to go into the concert, but he can hear the concert inside and he can hear the guitar and he loves it so much. And then he buys this old beat up guitar and learns how to play it. And eventually he gets to be on that stage playing the guitar as a jukebox hero. He's a guitar star. So it's a really good song story-wise, and it reminds me of the kids. Saliva, Click Click Boom. Now, a lot of people don't know what this song is about. They're always like, click, click, boom. Like the hillbillies around here are like, hey, gang, gang. I'm like, stop. That's not what that song's about. And I was actually at a car show one time, and somebody suggested the song to the DJ, and everybody was going like this, and he was even playing sound effects of like gunshots. And I'm like, do you not know what this song is about? Have you ever listened to the words? This song reminds me of my kids, because the story of this song is there's a guy in his bedroom, a kid, and he looks out the window and he could see all the other neighborhood kids playing outside, but he doesn't want to go outside and play. He wants to stay inside and listen to the radio and learn how to play music and get on the radio. It's an awesome story. The music video for this song is horrible. You should always tell a story when you're doing a video. And they had the perfect opportunity. It's a great story, and the video is just, it's terrible. It's not even worth watching. But it reminds me of my kids, because my kids, you know, I was more of a jock when I was young. They weren't that way. They were more, let's just stay in the house and do stuff in the house, which of course we're in North Carolina now instead of LA. In LA, we're always outside doing stuff, but once you move here, it's too hot to do anything, so you need to stay inside most of the time. But they were good kids, and they stayed in here, and they used to have an actual studio. It was in the bigger room, and so they learned how to play music, and that was their stuff. And there's a funny story about that. When we were outside one time, there was a girl up the street. She had just started going to the high school that my kids went to, and she came up to me and she said, "Oh, excuse me, are you the dad of the twins?" And I'm like, "Yes, is there something I can do for you? Do you know them?" She said, because she knew them from school, she met them at school. She's like, but she didn't really know we lived here. She was just new there. She's like, "You guys never come out of the house." And I said, "I'll tell you what, why don't you come inside and I'll show you why we never go out there." So she came in here and I took her upstairs and I showed her, and at that time we had the big room, the big drum set, the big amps, you know, the big mixer. We had like a 32 channel mixer up there. I mean, it was huge in there. And when she walked in and I opened the door, she was like, her eyes were just like, wow. She goes, "If I lived here, I would never leave that house either." And I thought that was so funny, But my kids were always busy in here. They wrote all their own songs. We had rules where if you're on stage, you got to play your own music. Don't play cover songs. So they were always in here writing music and playing music and jamming with Philip and Sean, and Rachel used to come over and play piano and flute. We always had live music in the house. It was awesome. So that song just reminds me of my kids, and it's just, that's why I love it so much. This might surprise some people. Claire de Lune, and I like the London Philharmonic version of this particular song. There's a lot of people have done this song. It's a very popular song, but I like that version of it because it's a little bit more full, and I like when there's a full, I guess you'd call it an orchestra. It's a philharmonic. I don't know the difference, but I like it when it's more full, and that's a really nice song. I like that song. Tears for Fears, Head Over Heels. Now, as a song, is it the best 80s song? No. And I hate the little end part that they have on there. They should have ended the song sooner. But this is going to sound weird when I say this. So, we're 80s people. I mean, we grew up in the 80s. Our whole house is 80s. I mean, we're like the 80s people. Like, it's all the time. There's a bunch of 80s people on TikTok, and they talk about funny things, and they tell it in a funny way. This is weird what I'm going to say, though, because the 80s had certain smells, certain looks. When they try and make a movie now that is set in the 80s, they don't get it correct. It's completely wrong. If you want to see what the 80s really look like, watch something like 16 Candles. John Hughes really captured our generation very well. And if you watch 16 Candles and you look at the way they were dressed, the way the geek was dressed and the popular people and stuff like that, that's period correct. That was actually what people really did look like. You know, they always, when they try and make a movie now, it's like all neon and this and big hair. There was big hair and stuff, but it was different. But because of the big hair, you had different smells of different types of colognes and perfumes and hairsprays, the way that the clothes smelled and stuff. And just a side note about the hair, when everyone's talking about getting their hair big, you read all these weird things online, like put eggs in your hair, use a lot of Aquanet and this and that. There was also, you had to have it cut a certain way. The way that it was cut helped to get it big like that. And I'll try and show some pictures of what my hair looked like. I used to get my hair cut at Hair Pirates in Pasadena. I think it's actually Altadena. And they did all the rock and roll hair. They knew how to do it correctly. And then you would go home and just blow dry it, and it would kind of come out that way. Put some mousse in it or something. You really didn't need to sit there and play with it so long like everyone's saying on the internet. And you'll see my hair wasn't big, but it was, I don't know, normal to me. And that big hair, that looks normal to me. But this song right here, if I say it in this way, this is weird. This is, to me, what the 80s sounded like. Now, I know there's other 80s songs that might better define the era or remind you of that era better. But when I'm talking about, if you were to go back in time and walk on the street and you smell like the brand new Levi's 501s, you know, and stuff like that, like just from people wearing them. There's different cars smelled a certain way because they were, you know, the early 80s cars with the Corinthian leather. This song had that sound to go with the sights and smells. I really don't know how to explain that. It's kind of weird, but that's why I like this song. Modern English, Melt With You, which I think is from the movie Valley Girl, which is a pretty good movie. It's all right. It's got some questionable things in there, but that's part of mine and my wife's youth. It also reminds me of me and my wife because I think she's way out of my league, and that's kind of how this movie is. It's a punk rocker going after like the Soch chick. So I'm not saying my wife's a Soch chick and I'm not a punker either, but she's like, my wife is like way over here and I'm like way down here. So I like the story of that because my wife fell for the lie and married me, which I'm really happy about. But I that's why I like that movie. which is a typical story, you know, two people from different lives, they love each other. That song reminds me of that story, and it reminds me of my wife. Steelheart, Angel Eyes. I used this song in a video one time for Valentine's Day, and I made a video for my wife, and I just had a bunch of pictures of her and did a montage of it. So this song reminds me of my wife. It's a really good song. Steelheart, totally underrated band. A lot of people know their more popular songs. I think this is one of their more popular songs, but I'm trying to learn the song Steelheart by Steelheart because it reminds me of how I was as a young person. The song Steelheart, he's arguing with his parents and stuff, and he just wants to go. And his dad is arguing with him. And I don't know if he wants to kill him, but he's drunk and he's got a gun and stuff. It's a really, really good song. Angel Eyes it's a really well-written song. The singer in this band is just phenomenal, and that's why I think they're underrated. I don't think they were as big as they should have been. Maybe their songs weren't as good, but the talent was there. Buckethead, Soothsayer. Now this might be one of his more popular songs. If you own Buckethead albums, you'll see where he's kind of weird in a lot of ways. He's got a lot of good songs. Also, Buckethead, in my opinion, is the best guitar player that's ever lived. And you can compare him to anybody. No, he's on a whole other level. You know, when you ask who's the greatest guitar player of all time, it's always like, you know, Jimmy Page, Jimi Hendrix, Slash. Dude, Slash isn't even as good as Matt. Matt's awesome. Slash is like, he's not even on the list. All those guys are, I don't even like any of those guys. They're terrible. You know, you got to talk about, you know, like John Petrucci, Joe Satriani, Steve Vai, you know, Buckethead. You know, those are good guitar players. You don't name these like, I don't know, I guess because they're popular. I don't know. They're not very good. Buckethead is like, he's on it. He's way up there. But Soothsayer is a really good song because it starts out really mellow, and then it does like, you know, the first part, then it goes into like a little thing, then it goes into the second part, a little thing, third part, and it's building every moment. Every time it gets to those parts, it's just building the entire song. So it starts out mellow, and then it starts getting a little bit more intense. So it's a really well-written song. I love Buckethead anyway, but that's one of my favorite songs from him. Most people probably know Jordan and whatever like that because of Guitar Hero and Rock Band, but Soothsayer is like really good. So number one is Your Love is Extravagant. Now this is a worship song from church, and a lot of people have done this song. My favorite version of it, I call it the Tony and Dean version because it's Tony and Dean Palacio singing this. The harmonies in this are just awesome. It's on a CD called Blessed Hope Enter In. It's from Blessed Hope Chapel, where we used to go in California, and they were the worship leaders on the worship team. And they did this song, and it's just the harmonies with the vocals is just, it's really good. The way that they did this is so well done. So that's my favorite song of all time. Maybe that'll change in the future. I don't know. You'll be surprised that there's no Megadeth songs on this list, which I have tons of favorite Megadeth songs. They're my favorite band. It's hard to get a list together, and I don't want to just throw any Megadeth song in there just because this one's my favorite. Throw it in the list. I want to make sure I got my list correct, and there's reasons for that because they remind me of things. So I'm going to encourage everybody who watches this, go make your own top 10 list. Obviously it's going to be different because this is subjective, but go try and make your own list and then tag me in it so I could watch your video or at least read your list of what your top 10 favorite songs are of all time. And let me know what you think of this list, if you like it or not. So I hope you like this video. Leave your comments down below. I read all of them. Thanks.